Hello, my name is Jackson Huff, and today I would like to describe to you a little-known process known as CRISPR gene editing. CRISPR gene editing is a process that is used when you take genes from one organism and put them into another organism. This process is deeply complicated, but has very simple ramifications that I can explain to you shortly. One of the largest ramifications of legalizing CRISPR gene editing is that it could save the lives of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. I would like to introduce you to a child whose parents have preferred that she remain nameless. She was born with leukemia in Detroit, and the doctors gave her approximately 2 weeks to live. A team of very well-known geneticists, headed by Kaiser Jocelyn, went ahead and took the mission head-on and decided that they would like to use CRISPR gene editing in order to help treat the leukemia that this child was born with. The child is now 18 months old and has made a full recovery. She has gone 12 months without having cancer and has lived to be 18 months old, which is far longer than the 2-week expectation that the doctors set. And her parents say that she would not be alive without the help of Kaiser Jocelyn, who wrote her own article titled CRISPR Gene Editing, Cas9 Editing, and in which she explains how exactly this team saved this baby's life. This baby is just one small example of how CRISPR gene editing can be used to save lives. According to Justin Antony, CRISPR gene editing could be used to reduce the risk of heart disease. And this could be done by taking the genes that are responsible for a heart attack or the genes that are responsible for other heart maladies and replacing them with good genes that are found in other humans. This replacement of genes would not have any other mal effects on the rest of the body, but could positively affect the heart, according to Justin Antony. Justin Antony also claims that we could also eradicate HIV with the use of CRISPR gene editing. HIV is a blood-borne disease that is most commonly known in the United States. Through CRISPR, we could eliminate HIV simply by replacing the genes and receptors in the human body that are most responsible for acquiring the HIV virus, and simply remove them from the human genome of those who are more susceptible to acquire HIV. Sickle cell anemia is another disease that you are born with, much like leukemia that we learned on the previous slide. Sickle cell anemia is a large disease that is characterized by blood cells that are shaped much like a sickle, as the name would suggest, and makes it very difficult for blood to move easily throughout the veins. Sickle cell anemia is due to one particular gene in the human body, which could be edited using CRISPR gene editing and once again save the lives of people with it. And finally, we could reduce the risk of getting diseases that are caused by microbials. Microbials is just a fancy name for a bacteria. We could change the DNA that is responsible in bacteria for giving us diseases, therefore nullifying the bacteria and making us have a safer place to live. Legalizing CRISPR gene editing could save millions, according to Vivian Vigoletti. The legalization of CRISPR gene editing would allow for further experimentation that could be done since it would become legal. This further experimentation could result in many other prospects that we have not even thought about as the American people or as scientists as a whole. These prospects could include many ways to save lives, grow food, or many other assemblies that could be done using CRISPR gene editing. And next we move on to a large agricultural boom that could happen due to CRISPR gene editing. Many of us are familiar with genetically modified organisms, or shortened GMOs. GMOs do not use CRISPR gene editing, but they use a very similar process. GMOs take genes that are found in other organisms and replace them with genes that are found in a healthier or more vibrant version of that organism. They retain all of the same nutrients, but sometimes grow with more strength or more vigor and are a lot harder to kill generally in the soil. CRISPR gene editing could do the work of GMOs and even make some of these GMOs stronger by taking the genes of plants with harder resilience and putting them into plants such as tomatoes that do not have such a strong resilience. CRISPR could help feed millions of people around the globe. Which brings us to our last point of why legalizing CRISPR gene editing is something that we need to do now and soon. We could save lives with CRISPR gene editing using herd immunity. Herd immunity is when a disease is very common within a group of people, namely a population. We have herd immunity to the flu because most everyone has contracted the flu and has gotten over it. We could gain herd immunity to certain diseases such as sickle cell anemia, HIV, and other diseases by simply replacing the genes that are most responsible for the expression of those diseases. If we remove the genes that cause the expression of those diseases, it would become impossible for us to contract these diseases. This is a theory that was postulated by Jia Wang. Jia Wang claims that if we could simply remove the genes that express certain diseases, we can simply eradicate them from the human population. Imagine a world where HIV risk is reduced, heart risk is reduced, sickle cell anemia is reduced, and millions of lives are saved. That is a world that we could live in simply by legalizing CRISPR gene editing and letting CRISPR gene editing work to the best of its abilities. And here's how you can help. There are a multitude of online petitions out there. I have linked in my favorite change.org petition, which is written by Dr. Eric Olson, and it is to help start CRISPR testing on patients with muscular dystrophy. Patients with muscular dystrophy are born with the disease much like patients with sickle cell anemia. They are born with it, but we could use CRISPR gene editing to make it so that they are never born with the disease, saving even more lives. By legalizing testing on patients with muscular dystrophy, this would allow for the aforementioned further of experimentation that we need in order to make sure that CRISPR gene editing finally gets the recognition it deserves in saving lives. And it takes just seconds of your time to either write a letter to your representative or sign one of these change.org petitions, or even a petition that you make up by yourself. It takes seconds of your time, but could save the lives of hundreds of millions of people. People with preventable diseases such as HIV, sickle cell anemia, microbial diseases, and muscular dystrophy could have their lives saved by you taking a couple seconds of your day to legalize CRISPR gene editing. We could also save lives by reducing the amount of starvation that occurs within the United States and the countries surrounding. Saving lives with CRISPR gene editing via agriculture is very simple, and all it requires is the same aforementioned signature from many willing people. Make your voice heard and tell the world that you want to legalize CRISPR gene editing for the benefit of the world as a whole.